Within the last several decades, the United States went from producing food on traditional farms owned by farm families to producing food from highly mechanized industrial operations controlled by a handful of giant corporations. Now, instead of raising animals for food in pastures, the standard method is to intensively confine animals, sometimes by the hundreds of thousands, in livestock production factories known as concentrated animal feeding operations, or CAFOs. CAFOs generate enormous quantities of biological waste, including feces and urine, as well as a variety of dangerous air pollutants that pose serious health threats to people who live nearby. CAFOs also produce extremely noxious odors that smell much worse than odors associated with traditional farms and greatly diminish quality of life, reduce property values, and alter the daily activities of neighboring landowners. For example, a newly constructed CAFO with 8,000 hogs that produce the equivalent amount of raw sewage produced by a town of 25,000 people now operates within a half-mile and upwind of where two longtime rural Hendricks County families live.
Which you can see over my shoulder. It's only 1,600 feet away from our back door, southwest of us. Our lives have been miserable since then, for the most part. No family reunions, no family comes to visit us. Janet, my loving wife, can't really live here, and it's just wrecked her life. She hacks and coughs all night with me. We actually have left home and went to a hotel just to get some relief for her. And our lives are just miserable.
The odor to me smells like if you've ever been by a sewage plant, that's exactly what it smells like, except it's more penetrating. I don't know if many people have ever smelled death than I have, being a Vietnam veteran, and basically it almost rates right up there with smelling death.
Unfortunately, while farming has dramatically transformed into a polluting industry, federal and state laws meant to protect the environment and people have not similarly transformed, leaving the Hemsels and Lannons with nowhere to turn. Although Indiana has approximately 2,000 CAFOs, relevant environmental regulations require only that these animal factories minimally restrict their water pollution, but not the dangerous air pollution and odors they produce. Making matters worse, Indiana has two right-to-farm laws that, despite the name, serve only to protect the interests of corporate conglomerates, not farmers. The original Right to Farm Act provides legal immunity to CAFOs that harm their neighbors. In turn, a new Right to Farm law enacted in 2014 requires regulators and courts to construe state law to protect the industry's right to use its preferred livestock production practices, which include the use of CAFOs, regardless of the harm those practices cause. We need your help to restore balance in Indiana policy so that the environment and the rights and interests of rural Hoosier families are given equal protection and no longer take a back seat to the special interests of the corporate livestock industry. There are two things you can do. First, we expect to see a renewed effort this legislative session to pass even more protections for the livestock industry. Protections that would strip the authority of local governments to enact or enforce county ordinances or other restrictions on where CAFOs can be built, and an initiative to enshrine a fundamental right to farm in our state constitution. We defeated these dangerous measures last year with help from supporters like you, but we'll need your involvement again this legislative session to make sure Indiana lawmakers understand that their constituents want responsible laws that protect public health and the environment, not more special protections for an industry that is threatening public health, degrading the environment, and trampling on Hoosiers' property rights. The second thing you can do is help support a lawsuit that HEC recently filed to challenge the constitutionality of Indiana's existing and unjust right to farm laws. Because litigation is costly and so much is at stake, we hope you will consider making a donation to HEC to support this effort. Thank you.